Hi guys, good morning. So I just was asking, are you guys, did you guys join the last workshop which we conducted in the last day, or this is your first time you are attending this?
Hi Sagar, I'm attending first time, but I went through the demo that you sent me yesterday. Thanks for that.
Okay. How about others?
I joined yesterday.
Yeah, I also joined yesterday.
Okay.
I
Sagar,
also joined
I
yesterday,
joined
sir.
yesterday, but little late.
Okay.
So, but this is my first session.
Okay.
I also joined.
Okay. So I am asking is if you have already watched the recording and you already know the content over here. So I don't have to recap much. I'll just do 2 minutes of recap what I did in the last class. So we discussed about some challenges of traditional networking and we just noted down those points and we discussed how network automation helps us to get through these challenges from the networking, from the traditional networking. So these were some of the points we collected. Then we discussed about the different ways to automate. We have Python, Ansible, API, three different ways. And then we discussed about the protocols that is used by any devices, any network device to talk to the devices. For example, if a device is in US and the remote engineer sits in a different region and he has to make any config change or he has to fetch the normal show output or he wants to do a iOS upgradation, he basically does SSH or HTTP or he might do SNMP or he might need to do a file transfer, so he will use a file transfer protocol. So these are some protocol using which we talk to the devices. Now specifically to do some changes, we use SSH or HTTP. The rest are either plain text or UDP, which we don't use for config test. We might use it for the initial discovery process, but not for any sort of config push. For config push, SSH and HTTP. So when I have decided SSH and HTTP, then I will think about automating them from this port or this protocol point of view. The SSH works on TCP 22 and HTTP works on TCP 80 and HTTPS would be TCP 443. So here is where I will start looking for necessary tools. So if let's say I take Python, so I will see in Python which are SSH capable libraries. So there are libraries like Netmiko, Nornia, Nipam, Paramico, PyNTC. These are all libraries which can handle TCP/22 requests. Similar way, if you decide to go with the HTTP way of automating. Now, over on Python, you will see the library. You have library like request library. You have a library called NC client. So these are on netconf and restconf model, API models. And same goes with Ansible. Ansible also has a features to communicate over SSH and also it can talk over on the HTTP mode, API mode. So this is how we were discussing about how to decide which to go and etc. etc. Then we did some API concept like if it is a monitoring tool like PRTG, HPNMI, and you're trying to automate. So what would you need for that? You need to have the APIs from the developer. Then you can use a Postman tools to test them, right? I think these were some general topic. Then we discussed about the three deployment method. Let's say you're getting started. So the remote side could be either accessible via VPN in the first method, So you connect to a VPN and then you have a reachability to the customer's environment. So in that case, all the tools you will install on your machine. In the second deployment method, you have a VDI concept or RDP or terminal server concept. So you log into that server. From that server, you initialize the second connection. So in this case, let's assume that the customer has given you enough permission so you can install the tools on their VDI. In that case, you can initiate the connection from that VDI. But in the third condition, you have a similar approach, but the customer has not given you any right access. So you cannot install or download anything on their VDI. So in this case, you do it on your own laptop, but you take two connections. There is a method in the library NetMiko called redispatch. So you will initiate the connection from your laptop. It will go to the VDI. From the VDI, it will redispatch to the remaining devices. So three deployment method we were discussing. And I was discussing about the certificate from the Cisco point of view, what all tracks uh, that we touch in this 2 month of curriculum, and also what is Devnet, what is DevCore, what is NMAT in auto. Okay, so these were some topics we discussed, and in the last slide, we discussed about the speed concept. So how and what are the different factors to decide inside Python, whether you want to go with NetMiko or NEPAM or Nornia or whatever. Okay, so that is something we will see now in the lab. So let's assume that I have to decide what library I need to pick, because I need only one library which can handle SSH. So I don't need lot of library inside my script, right? So I just need one. And I have multiple options. I have the one with which is called NetMiko, Paramiko, NEPAM, PyNTC, and Nornia. So out of this, which one have you guys heard about? Have you guys heard about any one so far? And which is that?
I have worked on all three of them, the first three, but not on PyNTC and Nornet.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about some difference and some similarities. So all this, the similarities are all these are SSH capable, and the dissimilarities are in the first four. The connection happens one after one. So basically, your execution will take a lot of time. Okay, so the total execution, if you are executing the script on, let's say, 1000 device, might be this will take 6 hours in that scenario. Whereas in Nornia, the connection happens parallelly. So execution is much faster. Might be in 30 minutes, you have completed all 1000 devices. What else can we think about? We can think about from vendor perspective. So let's say this single library can support 30 plus vendor, like Cisco, Huawei, Palo, F5, the multi vendors it can support. Whereas the rest might be this and this, they can only support 6 to 8 vendor and not more than that. And same goes with Nornia, might be it supports 10 vendor. So this is a drawback now. So in this case, you will not think about execution time, because might be you have only 100 device. So you need a library which can handle the request, handle this request. So NetMiko is your favorite in this scenario. Let's say you receive some project and it's a small scale company and they give you the requirement like they need to take a backup, they might have some config job on the maintenance window, and they might need some show command fetch during any troubleshooting calls, right? And they are looking for only 20 to 30 devices that they have it. So you can give them a very easy to write kind of script. So these two are easy to write. Just within 6 to 8 lines of your script, you can do almost like whatever they asked for. And also if they only have Cisco as a vendor and only 20-30 devices, you will not bother about the elapsed time. Neither you have to worry about which vendor, etc. Because already Cisco is a part of the 6 to 8 vendor. Okay, so these are some factors while we pick a library. So I'll show you one example now. Let me take you to my lab. As I told you, this is the lab which we give to the student. Okay. So right now, the ones which I have powered on are all Cisco based. And I'm trying to see the speed as a concern. Let me see how the speed matters. So what I've done is I've taken the IP address of this few devices and kept on some notepad. So I have around 6 devices and I'm going to run a similar set of command using Netmiko and Nornia. So the test is to see the time. Netmiko versus Nornia speed. These both are Python library for SSH. We will do first for Netmiko. I'll capture the first attempt timer. Then I'll do the second attempt. Then we do the third attempt. And then we take an average of this. And same behavior we do with the Nornia. I'll take the first attempt, second, and I'll do the average of it. So we will see who wins this speed test. And to be precise, I'm running the script for 6 devices and the same set of config I'm running across on both of the tests. Okay. So my config line should be, I'm trying to configure some login host. I'm trying to configure some OSPF configuration, 2 process of OSPF configuration, and I'm trying to fetch some show output as well. So a text file of like, let's say 8 to 9 different lines. So it will do configuration and it will also fetch us something. So I have prepared the script in my automation tool. This is a IDE which is used for writing the script. So let me take up the Netmiko script first. I know you may not understand, but I'll just try to decode a bit. This is where I'm calling my library. This is where I'm trying to fetch my username and password from the text folder, which is stored in some directory, in some C drive directory. This is the block where I have put my different IP address, 6 to 7 IP address, and I'm collecting it inside my script. This is where I'm starting my timer. I say that starts with 0 to 0 second. And since there are multiple devices, what I'm trying to do, I'm integrating a for loop. All my device information like username, password, port number, device type, everything is kept in a Python's dictionary format. Again, I know you may not have gone through all these phases, So don't worry, this is just a workshop. When we start from the next weekend, we will start with the theory first. Okay, we will not start with the writing script. We will start learning the theory and then we will write this. So you will be much more familiar by then what is each block. We take the SSH initiation here on the line number 22 using the connect handler function. We push the config which I prepared in a file. I'm pushing it to the device and I'm recording the end timer. So the start timer was here 0.0. Let's say the end timer will say us it took 17 seconds or something. And we see the, yeah, go ahead. Guys, be on mute if you're not uh, trying to ask anything. Okay. And at the end, as you know, Python will do the mathematical calculation. I'm just subtracting end minus start. So which I get usually the whatever timer it all took it to execute this. So we will do 3 attempts. First attempt, we will record it. Second attempt, we are gonna record. And third attempt, we are gonna record it. And then we will find the average of this. We will see how much time Netmiko took to whatever device we put in that text file for whatever CLI command we are pushing it. Fair enough. The same test we will do on a Nornier library as well. All right. So let me see if I can run this for the first attempt. So I right click here. I say run. It started with this timer. This is the start timer. It's executing on the first device. See, this is all the execution it did on the first device. It went to second device. It went to third device. It went to fourth. It went to fifth. And finally, it will do on the last. And then it recorded a end timer. And with that calculator, we did end minus start and got a final timer to execute this whole process on 6 devices. But in production, you might deal with thousands of devices. Okay. So right now it's a lab environment. So we can only take up this many devices. This is the timer. I'll copy this and I'll keep it here in this. This is in seconds. So I'll keep it as second. It took 17.7 seconds for this test. Let me do the repeat process for the second time. Let's see how much time it will take for the second attempt. And it will redo the same behavior. It will take one after one connection. Whatever device that we have mentioned on this file is trying to SSH one after one. And whatever CLI we have put up here is trying to configure that and fetch the output. So right now it took 17.9 seconds. So let me put that over here. Second attempt. Let me try the third attempt for the Netmiko. We will fix a average time and go with the second library. So it took almost 17. So I can say by seeing this, average comes to be like 17.5 seconds for Netmiko. And let me also put the number of testing components. 6 devices, 9 CLI config lines. Let's attempt on Nornier scenario now. I'll take you to Nornier. Nornier works on a framework. It's a bit different than Netmiko library. So for Nornier, these are the headers where we call the library. We are starting the timer. This is where I define my YAML file. Okay. So config.yaml is a file which will point to other three different files. The first one, it will point to host file where we kept all the device IP. Then it will point to the password file where we stored all the username and password. And same text file that we pushed via previous example, I'm re-pushing it now. It's called Nornier config code dot text, which has 9 CLI, same file. And then I'm taking up the end result and timer, and I'm just subtracting it and fetching the elapsed time. So if you see my config test, you will see my configure file. This is where it is pointing to host file and password file. So I have to go and add my host file to this. So let me update the IPs here that may not have been updated. So I'll take this IP. I say it's so and so. This is top second IP, which I keep it here. Third device. This is a YAML writing. Have you guys heard about YAML anytime?
Yes.
Okay. So we use this in Ansible as well. Okay, I updated all the same 6 devices to have a fair enough testing. Now let me go to the script, Nornier script, and I'll execute this. Okay, line 25. Might be while doing something, yeah, because we are using the same header here. So this should have been R6. Okay, see, you see in here now, you have 5 seconds of execution. That is my first testing. I keep it here. Let me run for the second time. So it took 4.8 seconds. Let me do the last time, the third time. 5.34. Okay, so I can say somewhere average of might be 5 second I can say. So you see yourself in this scenario. We did on 6 device only 9 CLI command. This took like 17 seconds and this took like 5 seconds. Okay. If you even had another, let's say 100 device, you can expect yourself multiplying straight away with 100, but those 100 devices still would have taken 5 seconds. Why? Because here we have concept of multi-threading. I can say that I need to SSH all 100 devices at once. So where do I do that? There is one option in the Nornier scenario. I go to this and there is a special multi-threading plugin. So right now I only gave 50. But if I give it as 100, that means Nornier can handle all 100 device in that particular time. Okay, 100 device at a time. That will take only 5 seconds still. Whereas this will increase by multiplying with 100 devices. So you see how much time this is gonna take when you have more than 100 device or 1000 device. It's gonna take in hours, but this will be in seconds, or if you're making a less number of thread connection, might be at least it will take 15 to 20 minutes to get the job done. So this is what the test I wanted to show you when you consider the libraries, because you might have the question, what is the use of so many libraries? Why do we learn so many libraries? Can't we be master of one library and just do all XYZ expectation from that? So this is what the challenge would be. Let's say if your requirement comes asking you to automate the network, who has a 2000 devices, 2000 Cisco device, they want to do a iOS upgradation, they want to do the basic pre-checks, post-check, right? And might be they give you the expected turnover time like 10 days. So if you pick up a slower module, then definitely you cannot complete in the expected ETA, or you have to work 24/7 sort of thing. But if you do over on a Nornier, you can expect a faster result. But that doesn't mean that Nornier is greater than NetMiko, because let's say this was not Cisco, might be it was F5. They have, the customer has F5, Palo Alto, Cisco, Juniper. Now what happens? Now you have the same requirement, but you still cannot go with Nornier because Nornier will not support them. So the left out option is NetMiko. But if you are that technical, then yes, you can integrate the threading concept on the NetMiko as well. Okay, it might work in a better way, but most of the time these are like a testing environment which might not work in the production. But yeah, you can integrate the threading plugin with the NetMiko and make a concurrent connection. Okay, so this is the take from this example. Any doubt with respect to decision maker?
So Sagar, the other modules like NAPAM and PyNTC and all these things, are they coming up with new features so that they can support this large environment?
No, they are also right now device by device connection.
Okay.
Okay, they also do not have this.
Parallel processing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, consider in case where non-Cisco devices are there, we have to go with NetMiko. There is no other option. Correct?
It depends. I'll show you. For example, I'll tell you where do you need to check your vendor. Let's say if you go with Nornier, so you can see the Nornier supported vendors. Let me show you in the Nornier plugins. Nowadays, almost all vendors are trying to associate with Nornier. So earlier, they used to be very less number, but now these have the netconf, they have HTTP automation, they have Paramiko, they have F5. They using NetMiko, they can do the Cisco vendors. NEPAM, they can do few vendors.
Okay.
Okay, so their integrations are going on, but might be someday there will be a lot of vendors who are associated with North.
Okay.
When you go with NetMiko vendor, see these are the list of vendor that NetMiko would support. See, it's a huge list.
Okay. So while running this script, where is the ideal placement of the server that you run? Actually, like it should be inside LAN.
No, right now in my scenario, what I've done is I've kept it in a same network. Say, for example, my tools are kept here on my machine, and my lab, let's say my lab is here, my laptop is here. I'm initially getting connected to one VDI. My VDI
Okay.
is here. And in this VDI, I have a read write option. So I have installed all my tools on this. And from there, I'm initiating the SSH connection.
Okay.
Okay.
What is VDI? Is it a software hardware?
No. VDI in my case is a MSTC thing. It's like your terminal server or jump host. Have you heard about this word? VDI, MSTC, RDP.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
You
Jump
got
server,
it.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. So this can be either a Windows machine or a Linux machine. So right now I'm using a Windows machine, but all the tools are available for Linux as well. You need tools like Python. You need a ID. You can make use of PyCharm or Microsoft Visual Studio. You need library you can download. They're all open source. So you have to go with NetMiko or Normio, and you need the remote devices. So never do the testing on a production environment, but if you have your employer providing you lab environment, you can use them. If you have your own hardware at home, you can use it. Or what I do is I use this EVNG platform. EVNG, GNS, they can also be usable. Not the packet tracer. Packet tracer do not have any way of automating or testing this. So these are some things that is put up on the terminal server. And then we prepare a respective script and we are ready to run it. I hope I was clear in this slide.
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll show you one last script. This is very interesting script. Again, the showcase is not just to test your knowledge. This is just to show what is it capable of. Because the knowledge point of view, we start from the next weekend where we start with theory first, not with the script first. Okay. It will be pure theory, and then we will increase our pace by writing scripts. So you will write more number of scripts. So theory is just first initial 2, 3 classes. Let me show you one more interesting concept in automation, which is called Regex. Okay. Let's say someone asks you, uh, okay, have you ever wondered if you had to create an Excel sheet? Let's say your management is asking you to create some Excel sheet or a CSV sheet, whatever, with some uh, required or expected inputs. Like they want this detail, they want this detail. They want to see what subnet mask you have configured. They want to see what's the current iOS version you're running across on them. They want to see the system file path. Might be they want to see the percentage of space that is available before you copy any new iOS file inside them. Or might be they are giving you a task to take the bandwidth utilization. So it should show in the Excel 40% utilized, 35% utilized, or whatever. It's called audit report. They will ask you to make this audit report. I remember 6 years back, I did this manually because there were no automation at that point of time. So we used to log in device to device, do copy paste, and fill this Excel. So it used to take hours to hours doing this. I think some people even would do now if they do not have a proper automation. So this would be something what they would think about doing it manually. But now using Python automation, we can all automate this in very simple way. We have in libraries like SSH library. We have Excel reading and Excel writing libraries. We also have library for Regex, which is nothing but regular expression. So why regular expression is because on this field, you just need the data. You don't need the entire line. Say, for example, you don't need it to appear like right? You don't want your Excel to have the whole line. What are you interested in? You're only interested in the data. So you want the Excel to have the data only. Let's say one here, 30 minutes. Or if it is 30 minutes, so and so. If it is 45 minutes, so and so. So you need the data. You don't want entire thing to be put up. Even if you go with the filter command like show version pipe include uptime, what do you see? You will see this line, right? You will see this line to be fetched. If you go with pipe include to fetch the host name, let's assume you might go with show run pipe include host name. What would be the output look like? Output would look like this host name R01. But why do I need this unwanted in my Excel? I want them to be just the data, right? So this things we can achieve using regular expression. So inside regular expression, we will build some queries. Okay, I build a query first. Using that query, I run this query against my show output. Say for example, I come up with some query. Let me tell you some query. Let's say I make a query where I have to fetch the host name. Uh, so I know the placeholder. So let's say, see, first I need to see two things. One is my vendor. If I make use of show run, I might get hundreds of lines of output. But in that one line would tell me that this is how it's represented, host name, so and so. And I need this data now. So I'll prepare my query in such a way that it go and start compiling at this particular line. So I will place a static placeholder. I'll define what is my static placeholder, which do not change. And then I'll take up the variable from there. Variable can be different because this query you will run on multiple devices in a for loop condition. You will initially run for R01 and fetch the data R1. You will run it for R2, you will fetch the data R2. The same query. You will have a placeholder and you will have a variable. So variable keeps changing. This is a variable. whereas the placeholder will always be the same in whatever device you do the query. So I'll show you one way to do this now. Give me 2 minutes. Just 1 minute more. Okay, so here, let me take you to the lab. Let's say I will show you might be one regex or two regex for now. What I initially need is I need to know which command line is gonna give me the data. Okay. So let me take it for show version. Let me consider as a show version. And my purpose is to fetch the uptime. So since this is a lab environment, I'm showing you something on your first day. So I'll first copy the output. We don't need to do it on the real time because in the real time, we capture the output and we run the compile at the same time from the script itself. But to show you guys how it is done, I'm just doing a manual copy. I'll go to some Regex tools. There are multiple Regex testing tools. So let's say I go with this tool and I'll put my output here. This is what I copied. So from this output, I need to fetch just this data. I don't need all these things. Okay. I don't need the entire line to be presented on my Excel sheet or something. I only need the data which should go to the Excel sheet. So I'll first prepare a static placeholder. So this is my static line, which will not change. If you go to any device, let's say I go to another device now, switch 6, you do the show version. It will still have the static placeholder as uptime is and so and so. Correct? So that is a placeholder, static line, which will never change from device to device. So using that, I'll start making my regex query. I'll keep the static line. There is a space in between. I'll keep the space in between as it is. And I have to fetch this. I have to print this on my Excel. So I'll say upper S, which stands for the non-white space character. See, white space and non-white space. White space are nothing but these spaces. These are called white space. What are non-white space? When you do not have any space in between. So that's called a non-white space. So right now, I want to capture the whole data, complete data. So if I go with the uppercase S plus, see what it says. It says that it is able to find one match. It is able to find till this. Why? Why is not it able to find minute? Because there is a white space in between. When there is a white space in between, the upper S will stop working. This will not work because of a empty space in between. So to handle that, what I will do is I'll go with dot plus. See, now in dot plus, it will say that yes, there is a complete match. But now you have to fetch this detail. So you just put the parenthesis within that. You go and place the parenthesis. So when you do the parenthesis, you have extracted that data. Now this data, you will push it to the Excel. Okay, your Excel output will look something like this. Let me show you one output file, which is from my previous batch. See, it will show you the data. So you are making a static placeholder. You're fetching the variable. That variable will be sent back to the Excel sheet. And the Excel sheet will have only the accurate data and the respective headers as per what you were being asked to prepare. So let me finish this regex properly, because what happens is you have not properly defined the spaces. Might be you have two spaces here. Your vendor could be Junos, FI, it could be whatever it is, right? It can change. Guys, 1 second. Right? So vendors can change anytime. So your query also will change then. This is not something universal for Cisco, Juniper, Palo. Whatever I prepared, that might work for Cisco iOS only as of now. Might be if you're going to Nexus, yes, it might work. If you go to Pan OS, may not be it work. If you go to Junos, it may not work. That is why I said you need to have your basic networking knowledge. You should know what is the CLI command to fetch, let's say, uptime. But later on, when you convert to automation, you just need to copy them, and you need to prepare the rejects one by one or one after one. So here, if I, let's say, if this was a pan OS and there were multiple spaces in between, see, now it will say that expression do not match, because whatever you prepared was for Cisco. But let's say pan OS has some different output pattern. So you have to make necessary changes, and you cannot expect yourself placing lot of spaces. This is not good. This is not good. This is not a good practice to keep like this. We have a way in the regular expression to define the spaces. You give 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 10 space, 20 space, whatever space you give, you can define it with expressions itself. So this is the way to handle any number of such spaces. See, now you have a matched up query. Similar way, you see that there can be some more spaces in between which you don't want it. So you replace that on the second side as well. See, now you did that. You handled this two spaces using regular expression. You're copying the data which has a space in between using this character of your regular expression, and you're specifically defined where you want to fetch it from. This is your placeholder. Okay. What if there were few more such lines? Let's say uh, if it is some vendor, some wireless vendor, or some let's assume some pan OS or something. The words can be repetitive in that block, right? So let's say Junos has uptime is reset, whatever. Now you see what will happen. You will also try to make a query unknowingly or by mistakenly on this line as well. See, but what is your approach? Your approach was this, right? So in this case, you need to be very specific while you define the placeholder. You might think, why I put two words? Why don't I put just a single word? That also might be sometimes the concern. Why do we need two? The more words you define, the more specific it's gonna be, the more better match it's gonna be. Okay. So let's say one more example. You had some host name to be fetched. Might be this keyword is repetitive in that output 3 or 4 times. So chances of getting the bad data is also high. So in case if there is another static placer in between in front of it, then be more specific. Which exact data are you expected to copy so that you get a exact output on your Excel sheet. Okay, because these are all your vendor perspective. It's not in my hand or your hand. The output can change. You need to know from networking side, networking background. You need to know how you deal with them. I'll show you one more output on the CLI. Let's say if you do show IP int brief, or let me show you show interface. You will see there would be lot of space in between. See, let's say if you copy this and keep on the Regex tool, so you see that pattern. This pattern has lot of spaces because this is how the iOS software is based. But don't expect the same behavior on Junos or Pan OS or whatever different platform. You need to test it. That is why if I'm showing something in this demo or workshop, you don't blindly go and copy and then come back saying this is not working. You need to know what the output look like, and for that output you need to create your own regex query. So query will change time to time. So I cannot say this is the final query to fetch uptime for all your networking devices. Don't be under that impression. Okay, so that is what I wanted to clear. So you prepare queries to queries like I have done in my script. Let me show you the script. Okay. So once again I'll walk through the script. I'll not try to like confuse you. These are my headers. Okay, these are my headers where I am calling the netmiko library, the regex expression, CSV file, and operating system module. These are header. This is where I have kept two devices for now because my query will match this two device. If I need to bring, let's say, Juniper or Pan OS, then also my query will accordingly change. So I have to keep only then those number of devices. This is a for loop because I'm dealing with two or more device. I want to repeat my process instead of writing for one device, then second device, which will gradually increase the number of lines as well. So we don't do that. I don't define a block to this, then a block to this. Instead, I create one block and run against both of them in a for loop condition. The device information is this. You can store the username password on the script, or you can keep it on the notepad like we did in the last example. You can keep it in an Excel sheet also. You can read from the Excel sheet. We take the SSH connection. Again, this happens device by device. First device will be contacted and we fetch the two output, one for show version and show interface. So from show version, I can run the query to fetch uptime, iOS version, the system path, the host name, what else? Might be reload reason, config register value. This I can fetch from show version because I know how Cisco iOS work. If you're doing the same thing for, let's say, F5, so you need to know which command can fetch you what. So that is from your point of view. From show version, I want to fetch a subnet mask and I want to fetch the management IP. That is why I am using this two command. And this output of this two, I'm copying it here in the variable. But to show you as a demo, what I had done is I had done manual copy and I put on the tool. But I don't need to do it in the script point of view because script I am running it on a live device. It is fetched up and kept here. So once you have the data, now you're planning to prepare the regex query. So this query is to fetch me the uptime. And this query, I'm fetching the host name. I'm keeping it here. Then I'm taking the regex query to fetch the version, which I'm storing it on the variable. Then I'm taking up the system path, which I will store in this variable. Then I have the serial ID, which I want to fetch. So I have taken that and stored in this variable. I want the config register. So this is my query. I kept in the variable. And then as I told you, I need the management IP and the subnet mask. So I've stored them in two different variables. So I will have, let's say, 8 to 9 variables now with different values, serial ID, configuration register, IP address, etc. So these 9 data should be placed accurately under 9 headers on your Excel. So you will prepare your headers now. This, let's say you want in this order. You want the first column of your Excel to have this, second to this, third to this, and so on till here. And then you will start mapping. You will say that your first header, which is host name, needs to have this variable. This is nothing but which has the query output. The on your steps above, you had prepared the regex and you stored the data here, which is ultimately start going to your CSV sheet. You did the same mapping. This is nothing but dictionary mapping in Python. It's one of the data types. Okay, we'll come to this. As I told you, you will not understand today. This is just a workshop. Once we do the theory, then this other scripts come like on the 10th day of your batch. It's not first or second as well. This is the advanced script. Okay. Let's say you wanted to capture management IP, so you mapped it, which was this column. So whatever headers you had, you mapped it with the respective variables. The data start filling up. Now there was one challenge. The challenge was the Excel gets printed up, but the header also reprint every time. So your Excel will have one header, the data from the first device, once again the header, the data of the second device, and this was repetitive. This process was getting repetitive. So we have to exclude reprinting of header, correct? I don't need the header to be reprinted every time. I need one header on the top, at the top, and then I need only the data from device 1, device 2, device 3. So that is where I bought up this module. What this module will do is, this module will check if that Excel is created or not. And I have put a condition. This is a condition block. If the Excel is not present, then print the header. If the Excel is present, then don't print the header. Okay. And I've disabled printing of that headline. See, if you see here, I've disabled it using the hash symbol. So this block will execute when Excel was present. So why do I need to reprint my header? I only need the data to be printed. Whereas this was the not condition. This is when Excel is not present and you want to print the header. So for the very first time, this block will get consulted. Once the Excel is created, then you just take the data and nothing else. You don't reprint the header. Okay. So I'll just run the script for now. Let me delete this file, which was generated from the previous run. I'll run this, right click, run this, and let's wait for the file to execute here. Okay, it's give me some error. Timeout error. Might be there is some problem with the device. device or the device IP. Let me see if these are the right IPs or not. Okay. Let me go to the lab. Let's see, show IP in brief. Okay, I think I have the IP address here. Show IP in brief. 39. Okay. So it should be these two IPs. So this is my first device in a string notation. This is my second device, and I'm running a for loop through that. See, the things are going on the back end. We have a file auto-generated. If you open the file, you see whatever you prepare the regex, you have the Excel ready. Now you can send this via email attachment. You can show it in your presentation. You can show it in your team meeting. Whatever you want, you can do it here. Okay, so this, let's say this was the expected behavior. Now, in my last batch, I also asked my students to tweak the script. So I asked them, because see, I showed this in the class. So I asked them to prepare some bandwidth utilization report. So in that case, they have to see what's the total bandwidth. That could be some in numbers, let's say something in numbers. What is utilized, they would have to capture using a regex. Let's say utilization is going across on this level, sorry, 1400. And to have a percentage, they have to put a calculator inside the Python script. So they will say utilized divided by total multiplied by 100. So which will result then giving like 46% utilized, 50% utilized. So this was the script that they have to do it in the class. So this is how the assignment also works. Okay. So let me show you once again the curriculum, how the curriculum would be. Okay, go to course outline. As I told you, from day one, we start the Python theory. We will not touch any script. We go with hands-on theory. Then we get into the libraries. Okay, then we have the NetMiko library. Then we get into NEPAM, PyNTC, Paramiko, Scapy, subprocess, and Normal. So this will be your Python related syllabus. Once Python is done, we get into Ansible block. So under Ansible block, we will touch the concept of playbook, Galaxy, Tower, AWX, Vault, and ad hocs. These are tags. So these are some Ansible related labs. Then we get into the APIs. Under API, we will see the REST API, the net conf APIs. We will see the HTTP protocol in depth, like HTTP header, HTTP status code, HTTP operations. That is all part of this topic. Then we get into the Devnet syllabus, Cisco Devnet, which again consists of number of topic which I've put up under these drop downs. So this is the entry level or foundation level of Devnet. And as I told you, there would be 10 projects. When I do some scripts, I ask you to do some assignment. So you can expect like 10 different projects from 10 different scopes. Could be regex, could be some conditions, could be some multi-device config, could be some taking backup, could be some configurations. It could be anything all over. Could be Ansible, could be some APIs. So there will be so many projects that would be given to you. So this batch, I'm planning to finish before December mid, before the Christmas holiday. But for some reason, if we are not, then we take that vacation, Christmas, New Year, and then we start from the Jan first week or second week once all the audience are available. Okay, usually this happens in every last batch of the year. I have to take some portions in the Jan month. So I'll try to finish at least Python course, Python syllabus before we get into the vacation mode, and rest like Ansible, API, and Devnet, we will take it here in the Jan month. So that's the course workflow. And any frequent asked questions you have, you can check it over here. What happens if you miss the class? What happens if you want to retake? What is the prerequisite? Everything is put up. There is no prerequisite. As I told you, we will start from scratch. You just need to have 100% attendance. That's all. Don't miss any class. We give you the certificate, 3-month course completion certificate. These are some feedback from the previous student who have enrolled with us for automation and our this one. This is a little bit about myself. If you click on the LinkedIn, you will land on my LinkedIn. You can read my uh, past experience. I have 10 plus years of experience in the networking domain, and I've been training for last 4 to 5 years. And if you have any inquiry, you want to reach for our backend for the pricing, etc., definitely you can get it. Yes, we also help you with the Devnet certificate. So you can reach out to me one-to-one. I'll explain how that works. Once the course is done, I'll also help you for the Devnet certification. Okay, I've given you this web page. You can go through each things. So who should enroll? That is also put up L1, L2, L3, NOC engineer, CCNA, CCNP, CCI, administrator, analyst, engineers, whoever is interested, even a fresher who wants to start their career in the Cisco programming, Cisco network programming, then this is the right course for them. This is the lab topology which we give, but I told you in the last workshop that if you need anything additional, Palo Alto, F5, FortiGate, you will write a email to our backend DL. I'll help with all that once the student is enrolled and added on our WhatsApp. So you will write a email to the backend, and we will bring you this as well in the lab. Okay. So as of now, there is a Cisco firewall. This is a Arista switch. This is a Juniper firewall. And these are the Cisco routers, iOS routers, and these are the iOS Catalyst switches. So we can do almost all the behavior on this lab from Python perspective. When I go to Ansible, I will run the different Galaxy. So iOS Galaxy, I can still take this. And for Palo Alto and F5, I can use the added up nodes. And for API, I depend on the sandbox environment because I get SD-WAN, ACI, and all this a high intense memory utilizing vendors, technologies. I'll take it from the sandbox. Okay, so this is the flow. So any question, guys, before I wrap up? So did you clear yourself?
Sagar, I have a quick question. How do we integrate with a vendor Microtech?
Okay, so Microtech, I think it was here, right? Let me search. Is it MICRO? Yeah, see here.
Um,
Yeah, see here. Netmiko has a support, so you don't need to worry. You will learn it.
okay. Thank you.
This is the one which you're looking.
Yes.
Yeah, so these are supported. So Netmiko is your friend. Okay.
So Sagar, we are using TSH method, not SSH. It is like we are using the additional like Bastion host method to log in. So can we do that automation for different job hosts?
Yes, so Bastion server is also a one kind of jump server. So inside Bastion server, how are you triggering the connectivity to the devices using what method?
The TSH, SSH.
TSH, SSH. Is this some client or something?
Usually we will be SSHing to SSH and give the IP or the username and the jump host, right? So here we are adding TSH then SSH. Then it will take you to redirect you to the another certificate will be added, and
Okay.
there you provide your login credentials. And once this is approved, you are logging into the mm,
Okay.
reason.
So the communication still happens on TCP/22 in this case, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. The method which you told certificate, that is doable in automation. See, when you do a SSH between the client and the device, there are two ways SSH work. You can define username and password, or you can go with the RSA key or certificate. So you are using this method,
Yeah.
right? So this is also doable in the NetMiko.
Okay.
So I think we have that case studies in one of our NetMiko. Let me see. See this one. Authenticate using RSA key method. So where
Okay.
you use the certificate to do that. So guys, you have to expand this block. There are the exact names of the script which is kept. Okay.
Hello, Sagar.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I did this same script. There was a requirement last year in my company to fetch a couple of serial numbers and all these things from the inventory. But I used that indexing and tried to fetch it, but it took a lot of time actually
Mhm.
to make that script and open it in Excel. Yeah, but I thought there must be some other good method like Regex, but I didn't got time to explore it. Yeah, I saw it today. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that was, but at least without, I think Regex is best compared to do manually. The indexing part it is very slow compared to Regex. Yeah,
Yes, in index, I mean, you have to do lot of split. You have to remove the unwanted things, convert.
correct. Include extra spaces, lot of things and all. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. Regex is simplest manner to do this.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. So I believe you know now what's the next step. You can either fill the form, so the backend guys will get in touch with you for the enrollment process. You can fill this process, or I'll just give you on the Zoom chat our email ID where you can write your email. Okay, so this is where you can contact the backend, and if you have any further doubt, you can ask for the callback, and they will call you up. Okay, and anything regards to pricing, the discount, anything you need, you just have to discuss with the backend who will help you with that.
Also, Sagar, this lab access will be given from next week or like,
Yes, I mean, we can provide from this week as well,
okay.
depending upon the student enrollment. not necessarily we need to wait for the last minute. We
Okay.
those who are making the full payment via single shot, we give the last batch recording as well, along with the lab access.
Okay. And these recordings are available till like anytime, like any
Yes,
duration?
it's a lifetime accessible.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I've also kept this contact info here in case someone is over on phone, not able to, so you guys can take a screenshot of this. I'll pass on the recording after some time. It will go for post processing and then I'll upload it to YouTube and give it. So in those guys who joined bit late, can go through this. So we start the batch from the next Saturday, 8:30 a.m. So timing is gonna be the same, 8:30. But yes, if I think we had the one or two enquiries where we can start 30 minutes late. So if all enrolled people are agreeing with that, then I don't mind keeping 30 minutes late because even I'm not a morning person, I would prefer keeping 30 minutes late. But if we have a US candidate, then that 30 minutes would be late for them. So that depends on enrolled now. Don't wait for last minute. Those who enroll will have more privilege of picking the time. So I'm okay with 8:30 a.m. or 9 a.m. per India time. But if you think you want to enroll and you want the same time, then better to block that. If you might wait for last minute, then I cannot change the timing because there would be other participants who would have already enrolled for this 8:30 itself. Okay. But if we see that everyone is agreeing for 9 a.m., then I don't have any objection. We can start at 9 a.m. itself. All right, guys. Thank you for attending this on your weekend and making it interactive. So let's wrap up for now and let's connect in the class.
Sagar, I have a quick question. Do we like, I know that we are recording these sessions. Do
Yeah.
we also like, you also provide slides? So what we are going through, like all the, like your drawing and everything, do we also get like PDF slides or something like that?
See, whatever I'm writing, it is written on some document. I can upload that on the Google Drive. But let me tell
Okay.
you, we already have all these things in our Google Drive. Let me once show you that because in my
It
past
just, yeah,
batches
it
was
just help us to quickly refer it. Recording is good, like, but we don't know on which minute, that I have to jump on and see that context, what I'm looking for. So maybe PDF is like a quick reference for us.
yeah. See, this is my previous. I mean, this is what the Google Drive which you will receive. So here you will find all the Python theory that we will start from the next class. So all the notes are here in a PDF format, and whatever I discussed in the last two workshops, majority of things you will see it here. This is what I will be starting with the next weekend. And also when I was going with the Devnet, I've just taken the PDF and uploaded in the same Google Drive. Okay. You will also find a PDF format or PDF version of that. So that should be somewhere, yeah, here. This is the notes, a short notes prepared by me in the PDF format. But if whatever I'm writing on that blackboard, if you need that, I will upload that as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And this will also have access to your Postman collection that we will discuss during API section. And this also has the necessary images that you need for Ansible tower deployment. This is Red Hat and this is sent to us. And whatever home lab, as I told you, you need 16 GB for home lab. Otherwise, you select our remote lab, which is on our side. If you take the home lab, then the OVA file is also ready, which you can download and import on your VM workstation, and you're ready to practice. But for that, you need 16 GB on your machine. If you don't have 16 GB, then opt for remote lab. You get it included for 3 months with the enrollment what you make. So 3 months you get a free access, and then if you want to extend, we have very minimum charges per month that we add for additional access. But if you don't want all that hassle, then go with home lab. You need to have 16 GB. 8 GB is still okay, but you can expect only 1 or 2 nodes running, nothing more than that.
So your lab is running on the server or?
Yeah, our lab is on remote side. It's on server. So we
Okay.
have a rack which we have a different data center.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, guys. So thank you everyone and enjoy your rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Sagar.
Thanks, Sagar.